First of all, I want to apologize for those that were expecting the boxer. I just have a famous name. I don't have the chin and I don't have the stamina. But I want to say, Lisa, thank you. That was a really insightful presentation. And I think I really like the quote that you ended up on as well. The fact that freedom of speech and anonymity just doesn't go together. Slightly different from our side. Today I'm actually going to be talking about not just a product demo and not just Zivver, but more about a research that we've conducted and the results of it and how does that potentially impact you as cybersecurity leaders within your organizations and equally your colleagues who essentially are the people you're trying to protect. So in our research, which was conducted back in October last year, we interviewed over 400 IT managers and 2,000 employees across the US, Europe, and the UK. And one of the big things that we asked was how well aligned do you think your cybersecurity posture is and the technologies that you have? And surprisingly, only 24% of IT leaders felt that their IT posture and the technologies that they have implemented aligns very well with what is needed for their organization. Rather surprisingly, almost 70% of IT leaders said they tend to focus on perceived risks rather than actual risks when it comes to protecting their organization. I'm not sure what a perceived risk is. It's maybe something preemptive that you're doing. But for me, I find that quite astounding. But for me, in order to focus on what you actually need to protect, you need to know where the vulnerabilities are. And I think that's what the key thing that was highlighted to me. So we asked them, what are your biggest vulnerabilities? And I think what was highlighted for us, which was, I think, a huge thing for us, was 38% and said, employees using unauthorized platforms. And if you delve a little bit deeper into that, why do employees use unauthorized platforms? What do employees want to do? They want to do their job. And what makes it easy for them to do their job, that is what they will go and do. And I think the next thing was the lack of awareness when it comes to understanding cybersecurity. That goes hand in hand with employees using essentially unauthorized platforms. An employee, a finance person, knows how best to do their job and they'll use the technologies that is available to them. Lack of having a technology that is fit for purpose leads to use of unauthorized platforms. The other thing that we've seen, and I think I use the word WeTransfer, and it sends a shudder down most IT security professionals back, but we've seen an increased use of tools such as WeTransfer, WhatsApp, and essentially not business-related solutions. And then the other thing is having too many solutions. We've also seen IT managers, and again, IT leaders yourselves, you'll see that you've inherited the IT structure or infrastructure from a previous leader who may have had different ideas on how to protect the organization. And essentially what you end up with is a mishmash of different tooling that's been brought in by different viewpoints, different leaders, and the people that suffer are essentially your employees. So we then asked the employees, what do they see as the biggest vulnerability when it comes to email security? I actually want to get you guys involved just to tell you the scale of the problem. So could I get everyone to raise their hand, if possible, please? We've seen them. There you go. We got there in there. Keep your hand raised if you've ever emailed the wrong person. Good. Keep it raised if you've ever sent the wrong attachment to an individual. Again, keep them raised if you haven't used CC or BCC properly. Next one, I'm really going to judge you. If you've ever used your personal email for work purposes. Right, I've taken a picture of all of you guys, and you'll be expecting an invoice. But the point I'm trying to make is, you as employees, because you guys wear a very special hat where you're in charge of protecting an organization, but you're also part of that organization. So you know what tools you need to get your job done, but you equally, some of you are tasked with bringing in those tools. I think what you see is there is a massive disconnect with what is being implemented and what is actually needed. But thank you so much for your honesty as well. And as I said, we have recorded this, so there is proof. The next thing that we actually asked was, what are the next 2 or 3 years looking like for you in terms of priorities? What are you willing or wanting to do? And I think what we saw was compliance come up over and over again, because there is a mindset of, if we're compliant, that is us doing enough. And I think we see that a lot with the new cybersecurity resilience bill coming in, the data sharing access and use bill coming in as well. There is a lot of effort to become compliant. And one of the things that we saw there was a lack of was there's not enough effort to make sure that our employees can get their job done quicker and better. And I think it feels like if the technology is being perceived as a way of slowing people down and stopping them making mistakes by putting more steps in, then there is a disconnect with what's required and what is currently being done. And I think what we are seeing more and more of is IT leaders are now waking up to go, we need an all-encompassing solution. We can't have multitudes of different tools, and which is why you see more and more organizations adopting E5, for example, right? E5 provides coverage for everything, but requires a lot of effort to get it up and running. And this is where an organization like us can help, because we can integrate into your existing ways of working, rather than having to reinvent the wheel or having another form of technology. And essentially, the other thing is protecting data from within your existing solutions. And I think that is key. Not adding another layer or another technology that your employees have to then use. And if you're the IT leader, then move on. The next IT person or IT leader or cybersecurity leader comes in with their own technology and their own ideas, and you end up with the same situation of multiple solutions doing the same thing, but none of them doing it really well. And then the last one that we kept seeing was the need more focus on outbound email, but equally more focus on inbound email. So those are some of the trends that we see coming up for IT leaders based on the research that we did last year. So the key takeaways that I have from that is people want to expand their focus, i.e. provide more coverage, however, have it in the right manner. And what does the right manner look like? It means not changing the status quo, not reinventing the wheel, not making sure that you're completely doing something new. The other one is aligning your investments. What do our employees need? What do we need as an organization? What is the industry saying that we need? And then deploying those. And then the last one is actually raising awareness. I always use this example. Frank in finance or Sue in HR are very good at finance and HR. Why are we expecting them to be absolute perfect cybersecurity employees? Because that is what our job is, and we have to make it easier for those guys to do that. And this is something that we actually had from a Manchester-based customer of ours who we worked with. We actually did a webinar series, and I'm not going to read the quote out, but it talks about essentially how we can prevent our employees from making the biggest mistake, which is obviously human error. As we've seen, we all do it. But the point I want to focus on is that human error will always be there. And if there's anyone that comes up here and tells you that we can completely eradicate human error, that's a snake oil salesman. Trust me, I've seen a few. But we never promise to say we can eradicate it. What we can do is we make it easy for your employees to do their job whilst letting you implement a technology that allows them to do their job without getting in the way. Because the moment we get in the way is the moment they use WeTransfer. And I'm sorry I had to use that word again. It's probably a curse word in here. But this was during a webinar series that we'd uncovered. A little bit about us, and I promise not to plug the product too much because this is meant to be a thought leadership point of view. But we spoke about the fact that there's a need for a holistic solution that focuses on both inbound email and outbound. When we talk about inbound, we speak about phishing, malware, payloadless attacks. When we talk about outbound, it's employees emailing the wrong person, which we've covered that all of you guys do. So none of you guys can deny that. But that's essentially what Zivver is able to do. We integrate in your existing email technology, that could be Office 365, Outlook Web, Gmail, and your mobile, to essentially add a layer of security which does not get in the way. And it's very difficult to explain that in words, but we do not get in the way unless we really need to. Unless someone is about to do something so catastrophically wrong, then we can stop them. That is essentially Zivver. The next part is actually talking about some of the customers that we've helped. Calderdale Council actually approached us. They were an M365 house, had recently moved up to E5, but looked at all the rules within E5 and thought, there is no way we're going to build policies that's going to protect our organization, because the moment we build them and we turn our back, those policies are automatically out of date. So what we were able to do for them was build policies and deploy policies that we maintain over time that prevents human error from happening. The other thing we were able to do for them was give them the ability to send and receive up to 5 terabytes of information from within their email. And the last one was essentially providing advanced encryption. So those are the challenges, and here's how we help them solve it. The biggest thing that we did for them was make email feel like email. The moment you add barriers and email doesn't feel like email, people get put off by it. Because an email is a particular tool which is used by every single person in your organization, but I challenge you to say no 2 people in your organization use email the same way. I have people in my team who use it completely differently. I have people that compose messages outside of email, copy them in last minute and send them because they're very concerned about their grammar. And I'm sure those people are also using Grammarly, which is also not an allowed tool. But we won't go into that, Nick. But those are some of the challenges. Like I said, we all use email, but we all use email differently. And that is the challenge that we helped Calderdale Council solve. That is not Nick Lund. We couldn't use his picture. But just imagine Nick Lund sitting there being very complimentary about Zivver. And they've been a customer of ours for 2 years. But not just them. We help over 10,000 organisations across the public and the private sectors, including Manchester City Council, Preston Council. We've got a lot of law firms on our books. We've got PwC, and a lot of private sector organisations that we help as well. We were founded in the Netherlands 10 years ago and have been in the UK market for 5 years now. And like I said, we've done a lot for the UK public and private sector. And then my last slide is just to leave you with some logos on some of the people that we are currently helping, as I mentioned, across the public and the private sphere. I've given myself 4 minutes. I did say I'll take some questions. But I'm conscious people may be a bit reluctant to ask questions in an open room, but if there are any questions, I can address them now, or alternatively, you can see us on our stand, which is just outside, where Nick will be waiting, and you can grill him on his use of Grammarly. Cool. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.